Rav Ya'akov Klass, our presidium chairman. Rabbi Klass, please.
Okay. Yeshikayach Harav Mirashnik. Gewaltige Welt. Which just want to bavorn a kasha. Sefer Dvarim starts off Eile Hadvarim, not Ve'eile Hadvarim, right? Why? Because Vav is Paisel es a Rishainim. Eile is Moisef al Rishainim, but Ve'eile is Paisel es a Rishainim. Sefer Vayikra, we just did Chazak, we finished off Sefer Shmois, and now we start off Vayikra. I've added with an Aleph Ze'ira. That was the whole business with Moshe Rabbeinu. But it starts off with a Vav. Why? Because, again, it's Moisef al Rishainim. Because we had the whole Indian of the Mishkan, and now, we go after we have a Mishkan in place, we go now to the Karbonis, the Indian of the Karbonis, but we'll get back to that in a moment. Okay? The question is, Vayakel Pikudei, which normally in a year that is a Shana Pshuta, they're laying together. Of course, in a Shana Muberes, obviously they're separate. The problem is, it doesn't have a Vav. It's Eile. And we're not the only ones that bavarn this. The Satmar Rebbe in Divrei Yoel bavarn this. And I'm not going into what he says, but basically, a lot of Pikudei is repetition of Vayakel, except that there's Cheshbonus here. There's Cheshbonus. There's, you would call it in English, you would call it reckoning of amounts. The amounts that were given, and we know that Moshe Rabbeinu had to be extremely careful that no one, as Rav Mendel mentioned, no one should ever say that Moshe Rabbeinu took anything from all of the monies that came in, the Kesef Tzedakah. The Gaboy Tzedakah have to be so careful that no one should be choshed them. I mean, I've heard stories, basically funny stories, probably vitz, a vitz which is really not a real story, but it's like a joke that they make about Gaboy Tzedakah. Someone once asked, "Nu, wiffel geht grod gleich grod zu the tzedakah?" So someone said, "Mistomer 10%." Was mit the andere? Nu, arbeit. This is. But they're jokes. They're jokes because chas v'shalom, the people who work and have to earn a salary, they have to earn a salary, so they work to keep things going. And we know. I saw someone did something very gemein the other day. The Agudas Yisrael, which is a very good organization. I'm actually a life member of Agudas Yisrael. I don't know if I have my card on me today, but I am a life member. One year I decided I'm going to become a life member. It goes back a number of years ago. And I probably made a lot of money off of that. That's like an investment. Okay? Someone put up the Aguda, came out with the Kol Kairei, just like we did, regarding the situation in Ukraine, and to collect money for it. And someone posted, look what they're collecting for now, and he posted on the side the salaries of the top people in the Aguda. Okay? By the way, the highest salary was much less than the top salaries of some of the people from the other Jewish organizations. But why he attacked the Aguda, das verstehe ich nicht. I don't know why. He tried attacking us, but he couldn't find anyone. He couldn't find any salary. Couldn't find it. Okay? Anyhow, so getting back to the vav that's missing, I call it the missing vav because it really should be ve'ela. So I wanted to say that after the whole tragedy, the tragedy of the Chet HaEgel, it was like just for a short period of time. If they would have waited one more day, they made a cheshbon and they probably were off by a day. That's what a day and a half. Moshe Rabbeinu would have come down, and they wanted to have something unzutappen. They had to have something to touch. They didn't understand. They still were not on that madrega. Even after they saw Kriyas Yamsuf, whatever they saw, or whatever was told to them, because this was actually a next generation. This was a generation beyond already, I believe, right? They were not the ones who actually saw the Kriyas Yamsuf, or who experienced it. But it was close enough. I mean, like you told over from the Baba. You told over from the Baba. That's like it's as if you were there. When you hear it from those people who experienced it, and they did the Chet HaEgel. And we know that the Rabbi Shalom was very, very in Kas. He was in Kas, and he tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Herech v'achale oisam, kiroga, I'm going to just destroy them. And Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, Zechor asher nishbato le'Avram, li'Yitzchak u'li'Yisrael avadecha. And the Rabbi Shalom hears, and the Rabbi Shalom gives, and of course Moshe Rabbeinu, and Chazal tell us, the Medrash tells us, Shulchan shel shloisha lo yamoid, Shulchan shel echad, because the Rabbi Shalom said, I'm going to start off with you. You'll be the Naya Mizricha Magid. You know, the famous one with the fire in Mizrich. And the mama, Gelaufen in Gassen, I verleid in the Yichis. She didn't care about the furniture. She didn't care about the kleider, the shtib, nothing. The Yichis brief. And the Mizricha says, Mama, es wird sich anfangen von mir. It will start with me. Okay? Moshe Rabbeinu was given that opportunity that Klal Yisrael could start from him. And we know later on, Moshe Rabbeinu argues with the Rabbanu Shalom, was mit mein Kinder? Why should my son, just like my brother's sons are succeeding him, why should my sons not succeed me? And the Rabbanu Shalom says, no, the one who was with you, Yeshua, he's the one who succeeds you. Your Talmud succeeds you. So to Moshe Rabbeinu, it's minei ubei yistira. I mean, Moshe Rabbeinu argues and he says, no. Zechar asher nishbata le'Avram li'Yitzchak u'li'Yisrael avadecha. And you know what the Rebbeinu Shalom answers? He says, Zacharti asher nishbati le'Avram li'Yitzchak u'Yaakov. Now, 1 minute. What's going on here? He says Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu says Yisrael, and he says Yaakov. So, Pshat, the way I see it, is Moshe Rabbeinu was going on an elevated madrega. Yisrael is Sarisa im Elikim. The Gam im Noshim Batuchal, I think that's the Lashon, right? That Moshe Rabbeinu looks at Klal Yisrael on a lofty basis, which means Moshe Rabbeinu, he doesn't suffer the fools. They forget about them. But as far as Yisrael being successful, it will be from those that are on the Madrega. Emfeta Bashefa, Zacharti Asher Nishbati LaAvram Yitzchak Yaakov. Even the ones who are Okav, that's where the name Yaakov comes from. It comes from Okav, the lowest, the lowest. But the lowest can also bring himself up. So we see that the Rabbanu Shalom completely changed. But he wanted to really manifest it. You know how we manifest it? In Eila. Paisel es harishonim. You know what he was passel? Poisel at the Rishonim were the luchais that were destroyed. Poisel es haluchais. And verkehrt. This shows already that there was a clear forgiveness from the Rabbinical Shalom to Klal Yisrael. But we have to be zeicha to this. It's not something that should come automatic. There has to be a schus on our side. We have to be zeicha. And I have to give great credit. This was, I believe, Rab Gil's work. This was your work, right? Yeah. This was Rab Gil's work. I'm giving them out. Whoever wants, you all will take. This is a democracy. You will take. Yeah, you give them out. And we are sitting here, bakvem. We have, in fact, I'm looking at that food, I'm getting aggravated because it can't sit here. It's not going to do anything for anyone. People will have to take, okay? And there are Yidden now in Ukraine, and Mamish, this morning at our minyan, I usually, if there's no oval here, I say the Kaddish. I say 3 Kaddashim. The Kaddish after Rabbi Shmuel, the Kaddish after Enkel Elokeinu, and the Kaddish after Aleinu. The first 2 Kaddashim after Rabbi Shmuel and after Enkel Elokeinu, because that's Kaddish the Rabbanon. That's for the Rabbanon, right? We're the Igud HaRabbonim, But it's for the Rabbanon, for all Aladairis, the Hakoras HaTayv we have for the Mesiris Nefesh, that we are here, Klal Yisrael, because of them. It's Chazal that has always saved us. The last Kaddish is brought the halacha that it's for Shar Meisei Yisrael. That Kaddish, even if there's no Yosim in the shul, that Kaddish has to be said. Someone has to say that Kaddish. And ich hab getracht, wenn ich hab gesagt, jener Kaddish, wer sag ich sag für welche Menschen. I was thinking of all those displaced people now in Ukraine, who mamish, there has to be that there are some Yusaimim among them, and they mamish can't get a minyan together. They can't get a minyan. My Kaddish should be for them, for the neshamas of their parents. The feeling that we as Klal Yisrael have to have one for the other, and it's all our tefillas. Even our tefillas are the tefillah. Tefillah is called Shemana Esrei. The Amida, Shemana Esrei, is the focal point. 3 times a day, 4 times on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, and Yontif, but 5 times on Yom Kippurim. That is the focal point. And what is, if you'll notice, the whole Shemana Esrei is not B'loshen Yochid. It's B'loshen Rabbim. Chutz, the supplication at the end, the L'kai Netzor, which is privat, that's my own. But everything else is not me. It's not me. I'm together with Klal Yisrael. I have to remember that constantly. We have a terrible, tragic. I've heard people talk. They say, "Oh, the Ukraine, they were, like what's his name? Putin is saying that he has to denazify. Stalin is coming to get rid of Hitler. I mean, that's basically what you're saying. Stalin killed more than Hitler, and among them, by the way, also Yidden. He also, in fact, some of his colleagues were Yidden. The communists, a lot of them were Yidden. The Troika, right after Stalin, the Troika was Khrushchev, Bulganin, and Kakhanovich. I forgot his first name. But anyhow. And slowly, Khrushchev got rid of Kakhanovich. Then he got rid of Bulganin. And there he was the complete chairman, with no one else around. He got rid of them all. He should have had them join the Igud. And they wouldn't come to meetings, and he'd have nothing, he'd have it all. But anyhow, But this. So he's coming to cleanse the Ukraine. Rav Soloveitchik, it's interesting. Rav Soloveitchik was of the view that who is Amalek today? So is Amalek a physische Kind von Amalek, the Neched of Esav? All of our sonim come from Avram Avinu. All of the sonim, unfortunately, that's why it had to end up with Yaakov. Avram Avinu. Midian comes from Avram Avinu. You go with God. And Amin and Moav are not Avram, but they're Avram's family. They're Avram's family. That Loit HaHaylech is Avram. So you have Moav, Edom, Amin, Amalek. All of them are they come from that source. But unfortunately, they were Fadarben. It's like Yishmael asa tshuva seif yamav. Yishmael does tshuva. But unfortunately, you know what? The kinder follow. It's like you go into some of these shuls and you see these eltere yidden, and they're there 6 o'clock in the morning. They have to daven. 6 o'clock. You know why they daven 6 o'clock? I hate to tell you, because years ago on Shabbos they daven 7:30. Because why did they daven 7:30? Because at 9 o'clock they had someplace else to go. My Zayda was one of the miyastim of Shem Shabbos, Chevra Shem Shabbos Anshe Sfard in Borough Park, and he was bedafka. Their group, they bedafka davened at 9 o'clock. They didn't allow. There was no 7:30 allowed in their shul. Bedafka not. My aunt once came home on a Shabbos morning. She came home and she said to my grandmother, she says, "Ay, basura azoyfil to essen." And my mother grew up anemic. They didn't have enough food. They didn't have the food to eat. Nicht gehabt was zu essen. They had mamish. She didn't go with her father to the Shineva Chevra, when she was very young, for shalashudas and the shtik herring. That was her protein. So my grandmother, she said, "Hat ihr etwas gegeben?" She wanted a minimum, and she said, "Nine." My aunt was standing while they were eating, and they didn't even think of giving this little girl something to eat, So my grandmother wanted to verstake it, to realize maybe it's not the right way to do it, but that's the way she did it. That Menschen baseren nicht Shem Shabbos, nicht derselbe sort Menschen wie Menschen baseren Shem Shabbos. Whether it's right or wrong to do it that way, today we don't do it that way. But that's the way it was done by many of the people then. We have these people in Ukraine. Now, Reb Gil found these, I think it's one. This is all one, right? It's all one. Or the Orthodox Union. The Aguda has theirs as well, and there are others. And if someone has something better, right?
This was very early.
If then they will contact. If any of you know, they'll contact Reb Gil. But we should be mefarsim this. We have to give. We have to give whatever we can. When we say Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanimtzoyim B'Tzara B'Shivya, and it means B'Chol Mokem Shahem. And so the Ukrainer, and even the Ukrainer Goyim, that's what I was going with Rav Soloveitchik. It's Oisem Maisa Amalek. It's not necessarily physically the grandchildren. Mi Bnei Bonav Shel Haman. What are you talking about? Do you know how many Einiklach of Nazis became Jews, became Geir Tzedek, and they would actually, if they could, they would spit on the graves of their ancestors, because, and I've read stories of Azalach Kindra. We at the Igud, we feel that we represent a sense of responsibility for Klal Yisrael. We have to do what we can, and we have to promote it. I've been promoting it in my shul. Told people, you have to send, you have to give, because whatever you decide you want to give, whether it's whatever amount you want to give, but give something to help these people. And I heard one or two people say, "Oh, the Ukrainer." But I said, "No, forget about those Ukrainer. Right now, we're dealing with a massive people, mamish. I mean, I heard stories in cattle cars. Mark Levin. I don't know if you heard of Mark Levin. He has, I think, the second most popular talk show. He had the chief rabbi, one of the Chabad rabbis in Ukraine, and his Chabad rabbi. He's very proud that he's a Jew. He's not Orthodox, but he's proud he's a Jew. Rabbi Cohen from Philadelphia. And he calls him my Chabad rabbi. He had the two on for a segment, and I was listening to it. And the way he's describing it, and he said something else. When these Russians come in, they haven't been with a woman for who knows how long. Yeah. So they abuse. There have been cases of abuse reported already. Cases of abuse. And this is what we're dealing with. And he described that people stuffed into this. Now, some people were fortunate; they were able to get on buses, and there were some cases where but that's what the media is going to show. The media doesn't want to show the other stuff that's happening. They don't want to show it. Even our media doesn't want to show because they're all complicit. They are unfortunate. Now Putin closed everything. I don't think there's any transmission that's allowed in there or allowed out. So whatever is allowed out of their TV station, I think purposely they bombed it, they killed it, and this is what's going on. So Im Yirtzeh Hashem will turn over back to our chairman of the day.
Thank you, Rav Klass.